Good day. I would like to apologize for not being there in person, but medical reasons prevent me from traveling to China at this time. But today I would like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude for being selected as the recipient of the A.L. Basham Medal from the International Association for the Study of Traditional Asian Medicine. It holds a special significance for me since Basham was the supervisor of my PhD thesis and helped to shape my future career in academia. I shall divide my talk into two parts, reflections and academics. The first focuses on ICTAM and its place in my career, and the second is a recent insight into an Ayurveda pharmacological concept. Reflections on ICTAM and its influence on my academic career. In November 1997, my wife, son of 2 years, and I traveled from California to Canberra, Australia, where I was awarded a scholarship to undertake the degree of PhD under the esteemed scholar in ancient Indian history and culture, A.L. Basham. My project was ancient Indian medicine and medical history, a topic on which I began working already the year before at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, with a preliminary study of medicine in early Buddhist literature, later to be developed into a book entitled Asceticism and Healing in Ancient India. Soon after I arrived in Canberra, I approached Professor Basham with a proposal that we hold an international conference on Indian medicine and medical history, since it was a relatively new field of academic study and would be good to gather together researchers with whom to discuss topics of current scholarship in the field. Seeing it as his last chance for organizing a major conference before his retirement, Basham readily welcomed the idea, but suggested that the conference should be wider in scope to cover all of Asia, including the Middle East. He immediately went forward with the plans and contacted Professor Charles Leslie, a pioneer in medical anthropology, especially in India, and with whom Basham had previously worked and contributed a paper to his collection of Asian medicine called Asian Medical Systems, a Comparative Study, published by the University of California Press in 1976. In this way, ICTAM began to take shape. At the early planning meetings, several topics came up for discussion. These were instrumental in shaping the focus of the conference and the subsequent organization. First and foremost was the scope of the conference and its academic focus. At first, it was decided that it should be an academic conference, but it should not exclude practitioners, as long as their presentations were determined to be academic as assessed by a review board. As time went on, it became increasingly difficult to make a clear distinction between academic and non-academic papers, but purely commercial presentations were to be excluded. This issue still plagues the organization of the periodic international conferences. The scope of the conference would cover all of Asia and include the three major medical systems of traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and Unani. The last was important among the traditional systems of medicine in India. Hence, a logo was born that included the first letters of each of the three systems in their native script. And here is the logo, the A from Ayurveda, the Chinese symbol for traditional Chinese medicine, and the first letter of Unani in Arabic script. The disciplinary approaches of the conference would include both history and anthropology, as represented by the historian Basham and the anthropologist Leslie. The conference was to take place at the Australian National University in Canberra in September 1979, the beginning of the autumn season in Australia, and was to last 4 days. We had invited all the major scholars of the 3 traditional Asian medical systems and were surprised when 300 participants from 5 continents showed up on the campus of the university. There were scholars, practitioners, and even politicians, such as Shiv Sharma, a member of the Indian Parliament, who was instrumental in making Ayurveda an accredited academic discipline and medical system in India. At the plenary session, it was decided that an international organization would be established for the study of traditional Asian medicine, and hence ICTAM was born and survives to the present day, 45 years later. It was also decided that there should be periodic meetings held to bring forth new historical and anthropological research in the traditional Asian medical systems of traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and Unani. A governing board was established and the new organization was launched. Eventually, regional branches were established and the organization grew into what it is today. My involvement in ICTAM followed along with my interest in Ayurveda. It was an important vehicle to put me in contact with various important scholars and practitioners of traditional Ayurvedic medicine. Although my primary focus was on the history of Indian medicine, I quickly realized that it was essential to have some knowledge of the principles and practice of Ayurveda in order to understand what the ancient Sanskrit texts were saying, since the modern practice is but a continuum of the ancient system. I held various offices in the organization over the years, and am now deemed as one of the, quote, honorary members, along with Vivian Lowe, Paul Unscholt, and Dominic Lujastik. When in 1991, the Dharam Hinduja Research Center was established at Columbia University, I, holding a position at NYU, was asked to head up its section devoted to the academic study of traditional Indian medicine, for which my experience with ICTAM would prove a useful asset. This brought me into contact with a variety of practitioners of Indian medicine in North America as well as India. Still not recognized as a legitimate medicine in the USA, Ayurveda struggled for credibility. Since the Hinduja Medical Initiative was a research program attached to a major university, American university, Ayurvedic practitioners saw their cooperation with the Hinduja Center as a way to establish medical credibility in the wider field of alternative and complementary medicine, which was advancing at the time. My first task was to organize a major conference on Indian medicine at Columbia University, which took place over 2 days from October 28-29, 1994. We were on our way to becoming a research base at Ayurveda when, after 5 years, the Hinduja Foundation pulled the plug on its funding of the center, and the work on Ayurveda and Indian medicine came to an end. During this time, I came in contact with various types of Ayurveda, from Ram Pandey's Kayakalpa rejuvenation therapy, conducted in a loft apartment in Soho, New York, to Vasant Lad's Ayurvedic practice in the resort city of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Perhaps the greatest impact on me came from the fast-growing system of Maharshi Ayurveda, headed by Deepak Chopra, who was fast becoming the guru of Indian medicine in the USA. In my own work, I strove to keep an academic distance and critical eye on Indian medicine and medical practice. And in 1995, I wrote an article entitled New Age Ayurveda, or What Happens When Ayurveda Comes to America, in which I critically examined the current trends of Ayurveda in North America. This small paper stirred the anger of the Ayurvedic practitioner and friend of Chopra, David Frawley, who perceived it as a threat to his own practice of Ayurveda. He informed Chopra, who threatened a lawsuit against me and Columbia University. Since at the time I was in neither a financial nor an emotional position to undergo a lawsuit, I abandoned my further study of modern Ayurveda in North America and devoted myself to learning more about the practice of Ayurveda in India. With the help of back-to-back research grants for a full 2 years, I traveled to India in April 1997 in order to immerse myself totally into Ayurveda, both in Varanasi and in Pune, which were two of the major educational centers of Ayurvedic medicine in India. While in India, I was called to the University of Copenhagen to take up a position in Indology, a discipline that was my first love. In November 1997, barely 7 months into my Ayurvedic program, I moved to Copenhagen, where I live today. While in Denmark, my orientation to Ayurveda changed considerably. Being still unsettled from my encounter with Ayurveda in the USA, I shifted my focus of the study of ancient Indian. I shifted my focus to the study of ancient Indian languages and cultures, which in fact was my primary academic training. I delved deeper into the ancient text and eventually expanded my interest to include Indian astral science. Today, I focus on the spread of scientific thinking in antiquity, with special emphasis on the science in ancient South Asia, where I tried to find close similarities in structure, content, and language between aspects of science and medicine in South Asia and other civilizations in the ancient world. This has borne some encouraging results, which include the recognition of parallels between Indian and Mesopotamian and later Greek and Roman modes of scientific thinking. In medicine, there appeared to be increasing contact between ancient Greek medicine and early Ayurveda. The evidence is even stronger between Mesopotamia and South Asian animal omens, which is a topic for another day. To conclude my talk today, I would like to revisit a vexing problem in Ayurvedic pharmacology. I call this new insights into prabhava, or the specific action of a drug. The field of pharmacology is rich and diversified, based on a profound knowledge of the local flora and fauna, and stemming from a long and diversified culinary tradition. In this section, I should like to try to elucidate a perplexing part of it that has confounded both ancient and modern scholars of Ayurveda. I begin with a 1987 article on the subject written by Jan Merlenbelt, the learned scholar of Indian medicine and first Basham Medal recipient. In his article, Merlenbelt provides definitions of the 4 basic concepts of Indian pharmacology, namely taste, or rasa, post-digestive taste, vipaka, potency, virya, and finally, specific action, or prabhava. Theoretically, each drug and medical ingredient in a recipe has these four qualities that a qualified physician or vaidya should recognize in order to carry out proper medical preparations. The first three of the qualities are known through empirical means. The last, specific action or power, however, is imperceptible and therefore inaccessible through empirical means. The Sanskrit word prabhava comes from the root bhu, to be, plus the prefix pra, before, meaning quite literally that which exists before or pre-exists, and refers to a substance's innate nature, its swabhava or its svarupa. The question is, what is it that exists before and has the character of being original or innate? Most scholars simply gloss over the question of a substance's specific action and simply consider it to be something that is there but cannot be readily identified. My current studies of the commentarial tradition of the Charaka Samhita have led to a breakthrough in the understanding of prabhava. In his chapter on potency therapy, the author speaks about the process which a specific kind of fortified milk undergoes to be transformed into a potency medicine. The quote, it goes as follows: "The milk only of the special milch cow, boiled by means of golden rings, is successful in bringing about offspring." Commenting on this verse, the early commentators Jayajata from the 7th century and Chakrapani Datta from the 11th century elucidate the Ayurvedic meaning of prabhava in this context. Jayajata states that the golden rings give the milk diverse power, which Chakrapani calls specific action. Chakrapani goes on to cite an unidentified passage that indicates prabhava rests in the ring shape rather than in the golden substance of which it is made. This point of view is supported by the scholar Vagbhata in the 7th century and the later commentator Yogindranath Sen in the 20th century. I might add that the plunging of heated gold leaf into milk is a technique that is still practiced in modern Ayurveda, as I witnessed it in an Ayurvedic pharmacy in Pune in the mid-1990s. Behind the use of this milk as potency medicine lay the belief that it possessed an imperceptible power, a shakti, or special action, prabhava, that gave sexual potency to the man who consumed it. The milk's special action is revealed in the form of a symbolic association between the milk and the male semen when it encounters the golden ring, which symbolizes the female vagina. The act of plunging of the heated gold circle in the milk mimics the action of copulation and the ejaculation of semen into the vagina. Both the milk and the golden ring symbolize the male and female genitalia, and the plunging of the ring in the milk epitomizes coitus. The symbolism of procreation is the medicine's special action, or prabhava. In today's Ayurveda, this symbolic meaning of prabhava is largely dismissed, in the same way that the doctrine of signatures was rejected by modern-day physicians. Nevertheless, it must have held some efficacy in the ancient system for it to have survived into modern Ayurvedic pharmacology, as I recently witnessed it in Pune. Perhaps this is a lesson for us as we read and understand ancient Indian medicine. One needs to approach traditional Asian medicine systems with an open mind to find answers to questions that it poses. The apologetic attitude that results from finding ways to legitimize traditional medicine to an audience of largely skeptical physicians and scientists does not do service to the traditional truths and wisdom that are yet to be fully understood. I thank you for your time for listening for this talk and wish you a good day.